Welcome to another Happening in Your Community. I'm Sue Ann Taylor, and today I'm with two of my favorite people on the planet, and we're lucky to have them right here in Atlanta. We have John Hope Bryant from Operation Hope and Ambassador Andrew Young, who's one of the board members and obviously one of the leaders of your whole community. So tell me, gentlemen, this is the second literacy convention that you're having. What did you learn from the first one?
We learned that this is not, that what should be common is not so common. And we learned that we've confirmed that financial literacy is the new civil rights issue here and around the world. That if you don't understand the language of money and you don't have a bank account, you are an economic slave. Or to quote my hero, Ambassador Young, to live in a system of free enterprise and not to understand the rules of free enterprise must be the very definition of slavery. And so you have really two societies today. And it's not race-based, it's class-based. And if you deal with issues of class, you get race for free. So we gotta bring everybody together, have them understand that at least here in the US, it doesn't matter whether you're white, black, red, brown, or yellow, you wanna see some more green. And even with this government shutdown, you have almost 1 million government workers who are living from paycheck to paycheck, many of them, who are now going into a pay period without a paycheck. And so this affects everybody. It's not just the so-called poor. It is the struggling class. It is a struggling middle class. And if you're making less than $50,000 or $70,000 a year in a developed country, you're struggling to make ends meet.
Well, actually, John,
yeah.
I hate to cut you off, but
please do.
It's not just those people. Our Congress does not understand that we're part of a global economy.
Yeah.
And if we don't pay our debts on time, somebody will raise the cost of interest 1 point, and that'll push us further down in debt.
Yeah.
And so they're running against each other, and the Chinese are sitting back waiting to collect.
Yes, they own our treasuries.
Nobody understands money in today's world. And the rich get together in Davos, Switzerland, every year in January. The super rich come together in Montana. We think it's time for ordinary folk and business folk to come together once a year in Atlanta to get an assessment of where the world is financially and how are we going to improve our place in it.
And what will be your benchmarks for success? How will you know you've done
that? It doesn't matter if we survive. Right now, the world's going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah.
The Congress cannot have a meeting, cannot take a vote. They don't turn the lights on, right, and have the government buildings. And so what we're saying is, it's time, and I'm critical of that, but I understand it. The world has grown so rapidly. Technology has moved so fast. Money has exploded. There's more money than people know what to do with, really. And so they're arguing about things from yesterday and not facing the world of today and the opportunities of tomorrow.
Yeah, that money he's talking about is moving around the world. It's just not moving through the hands of poor people nor the struggling class. That's that divide I talked about of those who basically are doing well and then everybody else. I think that, you said, well, how do you measure success? Well, I think first of all, let's just get together. This has never happened. Poor people don't have a lobbyist.
We shouldn't have an argument here on camera, but I really have come to think that it's not a class or race issue either. That is, are you in the know, or you're in the dark? And most people, regardless of race, creed, class, or wealth, are in the dark as far as the way the world's money's working today.
That's not an argument, that's an enhancement. That's like a software upgrade.
Sure. So what you really are creating is an enlightenment, a financial enlightenment forum.
Yeah, how the poor can help save capitalism. I mean, the largest retailer in the world is not, no disrespect, some high-end department store. I won't name names, but I will name this name. The largest retailer is Walmart.
Sure.
I mean, and I can go on and on and on. The automobile industry, saved by the working poor and the middle class. Cell phones, saved by the working poor and the middle class. Landline phones, restaurants, all these things were created as toys, tools, trinkets, and opportunities for the rich and the privileged class. But it was the poor and the working class people who sustained it, made them stockholder, credit-worthy companies where you could buy stock and they could have sustainable revenue. So the poor, the so-called poor, have always been the meat of the economy. They've never gotten credit for it. This summit is about giving people credit for their place in the economy and then giving people an opportunity to take their place in the economy by encouraging small business owners, entrepreneurs like you, self-employment projects, because most jobs in America and the world get created at companies with 500 employees or less. This is the myth in America.
50 employees.
Yes, yeah, half of all jobs in America are 100
Wow.
employees or less. 70% of all employees in America are 500 employees or less. This is a myth that everybody should go work for a big company. It's a myth. Or go work for government. It's a myth. We're going to banish those myths and replace it with, as Ambassador Young said,
But if a big company
enlightened
gives you a
education.
job or the government offers you a job, take it.
Okay, that's right. That's
These
right.
jobs are hard to come by.
I agree.
But it's best
Everybody else
if
has
you
created
can
one.
create your own and be your own boss. Then you will love free enterprise.
It's very interesting that all three of us are self-employed. I hadn't thought about that. But he runs his own operation.
Sure.
I mean, he's left public service a long time ago. I run my own operation. You run your own operation. We're creating jobs, employing people, paying their medical care, helping them to pay their school tuition, helping them pay our employees to pay their mortgages and
But
car
more
notes. That's
important-
driving the economy.
More important at my age, when you think of dying and what God is going
You're
to
not
ask
going
you
anywhere.
at the pearly gates, He's going to say, did you feed the hungry?
Yes.
Did you clothe the naked? Did you heal the sick? And did you set at liberty those who are oppressed? And the answer is, well, in the course of my life, I brought 1 billion new jobs, 1 million new jobs to Atlanta. So that ought to get me in spite of my sin.
I agree, and I think that he just wraps this up very well in the sense that he brings me back around to the misunderstanding of the civil rights movement. We call this civil rights, but there's a lot of so-called civil rights leaders who think they're fighting oppression. That's wrong. He and Dr. King were about redeeming the soul of America from the triple evils of war, racism, and poverty. They never got a chance to fight the war on poverty. Dr. King's life was ended prematurely. But that was the new agenda. It remains the agenda today, empowering people with a hand up and not just a handout, teaching them how to fish, not just giving them a fish. And Dr. King and Andrew Young were in Israel, I believe, and they were on the Jericho Road.
Tell me
And,
about that.
yeah.
What were you doing there?
Well, actually, it was at different times,
Okay.
but we both had similar. He said, I admire the Good Samaritan, but I don't want to be one. I don't want to pick people up by the side of the road after they've been beaten up and robbed. I want to change the Jericho Road so that people don't get beaten up and robbed. And I think that's the basis of macroeconomic policy. We want to change the world so that everybody has a fair chance.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Tell me what it's going to mean to you to meet the Prince of Norway, and tell me what it was like being there 50 years ago for the Nobel Prize.
Well, 50 years ago for the Nobel Prize, I didn't meet anybody, but I was thrilled just to be in the church when the Peace Prize was presented. But last couple of times I've been to Norway. In fact, Prince Haakon has become a very good friend and has been really anxious to be one of the young people involved in Young Global Leaders with John Bryant. And he's given a perspective on human rights and economic opportunity that Norway does pretty good. You know, probably Norway, I think, has the highest standard of living of any country on the face of the earth. Highest per capita income, longest health care, longest lifespan. And it's not perfect, but they have worked very hard to make things right for everybody. And I think they have a voice in today's world that needs to be heard.
What do you think is going to happen to our economy as a result of this government shutdown?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
Because we are brinksmen. We don't do anything. I mean, let's face it. I didn't start studying until the night before the test. And most Americans kind of goof off. Our life is so wonderful. We put it off. We fool around until the last minute, and then we say, uh-oh, got to get down and get to business. They're about right there. In fact, if they don't do it by tomorrow, interest rates are liable to jump up, and that makes the deficit get even higher. And so they're dumb, but they really aren't stupid.
Only my hero could say this.
So, all right, back to your...
It's dumb with all of the things happening in today's world for any congressman to be worried about what it's going to take to get him reelected in some little district in a world that's fallen apart in chaos because there's not an American vision and American leadership. And that's what I say is dumb. The world doesn't move forward, and there is such a thing as American exceptionalism. And it happened because we kind of took the best of the people from everywhere in the world, and we came here and we gave them a free opportunity to learn, to experiment, to work together. And we've come up with one wonderful country. And every place on the earth I've been, people want to be like America. But when they see America acting like a bunch of nincompoops, we sacrifice the high role that has been given to us by those who went before.
Yes. And so that's what we have to restore. And that's what we're trying to do. And what we will do in the summit is to give the world a new vision that is inclusive, that involves all people, that gives everybody a role in building and restoring and renewing the American dream and the Nigerian dream and the Brazilian dream and the Taiwanese dream. Everybody gets a place at the table in this new agenda. And that's why I really believe we've got Dr. King and Andrew Young's legacy all wrong. They weren't black leaders. They were great leaders who happened to be black. And they made the whole world better.
So let's just talk about your summit right this moment, and exactly why would somebody want to come? Give me the juicy bits of what happens when they walk through the door.
It would cost you $40,000 a year to go to most business schools to find out some of the stuff you can find here in 2 days for little or nothing.
There's going to be, that's it. I mean, this will be an extraordinary, one-of-a-kind gathering of world leaders around one agenda, empowering the poor.
You know, I think to get to the Clinton Global Initiative, you used to have to pay $10,000.
It's 16.
16.
It just came from there.
Yeah, and to go to Davos is
35,000.
35,000. We're saying y'all come with an open mind and an open heart, and we have some of the finest people in the world who are struggling with these issues on 3 or 4 continents. And you can get more here than you'd get sitting in most briefings, whether it's in the State Department or the Treasury or the White House.
Enough said.
Thank you. And thank you. So it is November 13 and 14 at the Georgia Conference Center, and that's down by the airport, just on Camp Creek Parkway, just go a little bit past the airport. It's a wonderful facility, and we hope you'll see you there. We'll be there. See you soon.